Hi Gemini, welcome to my channel. Gemini, as I mentioned in the Solar Eclipse Initiation video and podcast, on 10th of June at 6:52 a.m. Eastern Time, Sun and Moon will come together as a solar eclipse at 19°47' of Gemini, along with North Node, which is a karmic point, to plant a new karmic seed. We would have 6 planets physically parallel and anti-parallel in the sky with the karmic nodes, like the whole universe is conspiring to bring something to pass. In this moment of eclipse, after a period of reconsideration and even confusion, we are meant to see things clearly. It may not yet be time to start anew or announce, or external messaging might still be delayed, as the ruler of the eclipse and your ruler Mercury is retrograde till 22nd of June. But this eclipse marks a new phase, a new era, a new start, initiation of the new thinking, new mind begins, a new thought form of who you are is born, and from that we create our forward life path. North Node is where we stumble, we get up, and yet we start again. Cause it's our path of forward growth of this lifetime. It's our karma of this lifetime. We must grow through and grow towards it. Every 19 years, North Node comes in our sign. It's the period of greatest fated shifts and a time for us to walk our life path. That time for you, Gemini, is right now. Gemini, that time started from May of 2020 as North Node entered your sign, and those very shifts begin. This is the last 6 months of North Node in your sign and of this karmic growth in your life path. This mingles with the lunar eclipse theme of release of dependence on others, release of an old model of partnership, an old way of thinking of commitment, connection to our partner or to a business partnership is given away. And it's giving way to a new way of being in our independence. Today we would not so much focus on this one event alone, but more about what the next 6 months hold for us, what the last 6 months of North Node in your sign, along with these eclipses that pan out over next 6 months, are supposed to teach us, and what kind of evolution our mind and our physical identity is going to undergo, where one kind of thought form is being released and a new one, which becomes your new identity, is born. And it would serve us for the next 19 years. We never stop growing, especially Gemini never stop growing, but eclipses in our sign take our life path through leaps. In matter of days and months, the changes which would normally take years to come, they come to pass with the eclipses. If you're old enough, this kind of growth you would have experienced back in 2002. Your axis of identity and recognition is being activated, as over the course of next 6 months, one adventure ends and another one begins. As promised in part 1 of this video or podcast, which is the overview of the solar eclipse of 10th of June, in this part 2, we are going to delve deeper into all of this specific to your sign, as it's relevant for the rest of the year for you, and it is a cycle of 19 years which is beginning for you. Happy birthday to Gemini Sun, and a very happy new season and a new solar cycle to all of you. My name is Charu and I'm your host on this journey. So let's dig in. We start with the focus on the solar eclipse that's happening on 10th of June, which will influence us till 14th of December this year. Gemini, we get one new moon every year, and 10th of June is yours. It's the time of reset, the time to reinvent oneself physically, mentally, and spiritually. The fact that this time your new moon comes with an eclipse and a rebirth of your ruler Mercury, which is a symbol of our mind, makes this new start very strongly felt. There is a very strong shift which is mentally, physically, and spiritually felt with this eclipse. It's the time to plant a new seed, a seed which is steeped in knowledge, a seed which is a stimulant for the minds of many, a seed that takes your life to another leap of growth, a leap that we have not seen in the last 19 years, a seed that is your best foot forward, a seed that builds your faith in you, a seed that's authentic expression of you. It puts you in the spotlight as you boldly, bravely enjoy this new expression of your life. It's a makeover of the body and the mind. It's the time to put ourselves out there. New influence, new network impact, use of words, use of mind, a shift in how we express ourselves, and it's the time to try new things, even though the full launch or the expression of them are delayed to after 22nd of June. This is the time to launch yourself in a totally different way to the world. This seed would grow, it would change, it will mutate into something even more useful over the course of next 6 months. It is not going to be fixed in stone. Its initiation might have actually started back through some events in January, and then you might have worked on it in April. 3rd of January and around is when the first thought process or the seed of this new start might have been planted through a karmic or a fated event. And now through the April, around 7th of April, you might have further cultivated it. You might have interacted with people about it, spoken about it, thought about it, worked about it. But right now, you might be in a phase of changing it. It's the time of shifting what you thought your new start could be, and now take it through a period of tightening up loose ends by researching, by discussion, by talking, by experimentation within limits, by paving the way forward. An eclipse in a sign activates our independence and our life path in a very major way. It stokes our need for self-reliance. We become independent and we come into ourselves with an eclipse in our sign. Attention also comes on our physical appearance, as we want our external expression to be in line with who we are becoming as well. Who you are, your title to the world, what people know you as, and how others perceive you becomes a focus for a rebirth. It's the time to let you be the center of it all and let your assets shine. Your asset, your biggest asset, is your voice and your mind. Any issues linked to personal identity, career path, appearance, outward behavior, self-expression would come to forefront to address as you're making a choice here, a choice of wearing the identity for the next 19 years that suits you. It's not going to be set in stone, it will evolve, but right now you're possibly sifting through the choices and making and choosing a choice that in the current mindset suits you the most. This is the start of your personal cycle and not an ordinary start. The last eclipse in our sign with North Node for the next 19 years is the time when we seem to have an urgency to reinvent ourselves. And it's the time to take advantage of that moment when the whole universe seems to be bringing things towards you, conspiring to make it all happen. Although it's not happening without its stumbles, reworks and problems, or even delays. This is the time when the entrepreneurial spirit within us, it wakes us. It wakes up in our being. It doesn't mean that everybody starts going independently without a job, without a boss or anything, but it's just the point where we want to do something which is unique to us, and we want to do something which is very independent in nature. North Node in our sign always course corrects our life path. So if we have been living a life path that is not authentic to us, we were not born to do what we are doing right now, then a key career shift comes, a bend in the road comes when a North Node eclipse in our sign happens. And the personal life also shifts with it. And these are not small shifts. Shifts in these years that you're experiencing right now, since May of 2020 to the year end this year, they are life-changing. You last experienced those shifts in 2002. In case you're old enough, you could look back or look at 2002 Or if you want to look at a closer time when the reverse nodes were in action, which was in 2011, a reverse of what's happening right now might have happened in 2011. So look at parallels from 2002 and 2011, which might have been points of major shifts in your life. And this brand new era of your life is marked with Gemini themes, which is activation of mind, shift in skill set, shift in knowledge, variety, and of course, connections. New connections. You are a social butterfly by the archetype of your sign, and this is the time when we find new tribe, new connections. Everything that's quintessential Gemini about you is enhanced even further with Rahu or North Node in your sign, which is the wit, the skillfulness, the fluidity with words, the charm, the analytical mind, the speed, dexterity with things, playfulness with variety of things, and of course your speech. The issue that we normally face is that there is too many options. We open too many avenues and we do not know which one has the most conviction. During Mercury retrograde, you will sift through these many options instead of dissipating your energy and spreading yourself too thin in all directions. Eclipse has a strong impact on your mind, on your thinking, on your nervous system, and your physical body, all of which are being reframed in June with both retrograde cycle of your ruler and this eclipse. We would need to calm our nerves a little bit and take care of our immunity as we are physically undergoing a large amount of change with this. While this eclipse influences all of Gemini, the most influenced would be the ones who have their planets, which is rising, sun or moon, around 20 degrees of Gemini. So about 3 degrees plus or minus of 20 degrees, which is around 17 degrees to 23 degrees of Gemini. If you have your rising sun or moon or even other planets in Gemini, you will feel the influence the most. I have done a separate video where if your planets in your chart, in your birth chart, are being aspected by an eclipse, how to figure out the influence of that. I'll link that in the comments and in the description for you to access. But around 20 degrees of Gemini, or if you're a Gemini sun born around 9th or 10th of June, you will feel this eclipse very strongly, and it would be a bend in the road, a shift in direction for you. Let's talk a little bit about Mercury retrograde, which is also happening in parallel with this eclipse, and it's Mercury is conjunct this eclipse, so it's an integral part of this eclipse. Mercury is retrograde till 22nd of June. We normally do not start things or let projects fully mature for sign off during this period of Mercury retrograde, especially when it's happening in our sign. So it's pretty much important for you to hold on a little bit and reconsider things. Mercury, the symbol of our mind and thinking, is your ruler. It last went into this phase of reconsideration of your life path back in May or June of 2015. Now everything is not going to be similar as 2015, but the lessons of last cycle are always carried forward. So you could look at May or June of 2015 to see what happened through emails, through photographs, through chats. You could draw lessons from that cycle. And it's possible that those themes and even some of those issues and people, if they were unresolved from that time, they would come back again in the now to speak to you. We would shift gears from reviewing the past to working on the future after 10th of this month in this cycle of Mercury retrograde. But those lessons from the last cycle would have to be integrated in this cycle of Mercury retrograde as well. It wouldn't yet be time to launch. We would be actively working for the future instead of turning back after 10th. This period till 22nd June is essential to see things you didn't see before. And that would happen through slowing down a bit. If we do not physically, mentally, ourselves slow down, usually something makes us. It's the period of reviewing how we project ourselves, removing the blocks that stop the full expression of yourself, that block you from speaking up for yourself. We'll be removing things that slow you down, or somebody who slows you down or puts you down. Something very subtle yet very potent shifts for more personal impact. A very different part of our thinking and our brain is activated at this time. So we see things deeply and clearly, which we did not see before when we were busy running after the day-to-day, running after the mundane. We tighten up solutions to previously resolved problems. We reframe our life. We revamp our talk. We reaffirm who we are in this period. It's not a great time to physically yet make changes, especially in our appearances. It will not come out as you thought. I mean, you can do it if you have to, but remember that it's not going to be exactly what you thought it will come out. There will be mistakes in communication and written materials when we try to speed, but you have to hear yourself like you have never heard yourself before. Beyond the issues of the form, really listen to yourself in this period till 22nd of June, because there's a part of you beyond the issues of the form which normally does not talk to you, who's speaking to you right now, and it's trying to express itself like it has never expressed itself before. It's about knowing who you truly are, excluding all the bondages, expectations, and external stimulus. Who you are as a person, and then express it unabashed in everything you do. Mercury rules your personal life, your emotional life, your home, your family, the very foundations who make you and who you are, into who you are. And those very foundations, your emotional life, your personal life, your home and family dynamics, they would also be renewed during this period. They will be reviewed. What and who makes you feel whole, and what or who does not make you feel whole will also come to surface during this time. Let's also talk about the lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse of 26th of May, which would influence us all the way to 19th of November, would also continue to influence us along with this new start for the rest of the year. And it's very much about a release, a cord cutting, a karmic release for something so far has been the influence, the major influence in your life. It could be a partner, it could be a guru, it could be a close relationship, it be a spouse, it could be a contract, it could be a mentor, a father figure, a teacher, a counselor, or our own old way of connecting with others. It could also be our connections, close connections, the kind of clients we handle, and the people we live with who influence us emotionally and spiritually. And they have access to a deeper side of us. The relationship with a partner, a coach, a teacher, an advisor, a global contract, a global connection is shifted forever here as we get a higher perspective of who we are as a person and who we as a person want to be in a partnership. The fated karmic event linked to this shift in your relationships will only happen around first week of September. Even though right now you would have got a preview of it or an inkling of it, but the release of that and a major physical shift in that will only happen around first week of September. It would be built up like to gain something that fate has planned for us. We would need to release our previously paved plans which were set by ourselves. These are outdated forms of relationships and outdated notions of dependence and partnerships which do not have place in your future. What was expanded possibly not so long ago and possibly benefited you not so long ago, around in 2019, this partnership, this contract, this relationship, this mentorship could have helped you not so long ago, around 2019 to be specific. But now somehow that model does not fit into the future you're creating for yourself. So it's coming for a reframing, a reset, and a possible release or cord cutting if it is a karmic relationship whose time with you is getting over. Sometimes the partnerships are not released physically, but how we balance the me versus the you and the partnership shifts with a tilt towards you. Because if the balance has been unfair, it would have come to surface already. This also brings to focus a possible shift in your partner's life through travel, through education, through religion, through relocation, where something old is released to make space for new. The focus comes on marriage, on second marriage, sometimes unfortunately on divorce or on separation. Sometimes a foreign contract, an international connection, an intellectual connection, a foreign affair, a foreign agreement, a foreign client, a multicultural client, or a foreign resident comes to fruition, comes to completion, but it comes at a major cost. It comes at a cost of releasing something. Sometimes the nature of partnership becomes more spiritual, and an old influence in form of a guru, teacher, or a coach, or a even a close lawyer is released, and we get a new spiritual partnership. But first thing will be release of a partnership. Something has to be let go for you to gain something. We evolve how we connect to others, both personally and professionally. Your connections and personal partners would need to evolve over the course of next 6 months to be in line with who you're becoming, and that would mean to release some old connections, contracts, commitments, and partnerships so we can let universe fill it up with the possibilities of something higher and different. This is coming from the eclipse that just happened, which will only get activated in September. This release will be most significantly felt by Gemini with rising sun or moon around 5 degrees of Gemini, even though it influences all of us and it is a theme for us all Gemini to follow. But those with rising sun or moon around 5 degrees of Gemini, which is around 3 degrees plus or minus 5 degrees, so it's around 3 degrees to 8 degrees of Gemini, which if you're born as a Gemini sun, you would be born around 26th of May. So 3 days before or after 26th of May, you'll feel this very, very strongly. You would have already started getting the clues of what this is, but the full karmic event around it will only happen in September. Let's also cover the last 6 months of Gemini and Sagittarius knows the do's and the don'ts of the next 6 months essentially. As the two eclipses are going to intermingle and color our next 6 months, we would be living the last 6 months of this karmic growth, and in a way, road to success are going to be some few do's and don'ts which we need to follow, which are in line with these nodes. We will stumble many times because North Node is where we have not done something before. So be gentle with yourself, because in the process, you're going to try something that you have never tried before. The first of the do's and the don'ts, which is the most important thing to remember in this time, in these 6 months, is that relationships will match your growth. Relationships will not be the source of your growth. They will match your growth, your personal growth. Being your own person, independent, without relying on others, not even your close partners who helped you in the past, that is the most important objective of the next 6 months. Cultivate your own talents as much as possible and go solo. This is a transit to honor who you are, without letting others dictate or dominate your choices, without over adjusting to be what others want you to be. It's the time to develop confidence in your independence and not fall back in the trap of relationship dependency. You come first. Your need to appreciate your strengths and building on that comes first. Any old patterns of relying on others to make a choice for you would have to be released. You make your choices. all your choices. Similarly, expecting others in some way to offer you what you need would possibly be met with disappointment. And we would need to move away from that reliance. Universe in some ways is trying to give you messaging to become more independent if you're facing disappointments from others in this period. And because this North Node, South Node transit initiated in May of 2020, you might already have experienced some of those key shifts in your partnerships. Learning from our local environment is important. Learning from your local community, picking up information, influences, opportunities by talking to people in your community outside of your relationship, outside of your personal relationship. Taking initiative to connect with people locally is an important part of road to success for you. Honor your intrinsic need for variety in people, in information, and in influences. Wake up if that part of you has gone dormant, where you were a social butterfly in some ways, because that is you. That is your intrinsic quality. Making connections which are light, which are happy, which are witty is intrinsic part of who you are. So North Node always tries to wake you up to your intrinsic qualities. Release the heavy stuff. It's not you. Stay off opinions, prejudice, assumptions. Stay your witty, adaptable, light self. Quintessential Gemini. Lighter approach to life, and it's very much the road to success right now. It's not it's not about looks, but looking your part is important during this transit. Because it's not about others, it's what will make you feel more comfortable in your skin. So your physical appearance would become very key during this transit as well. It's just about looking your part and that making you feel more comfortable in your skin. We learn the lessons of impermanence, sorry, I'm not able to say the word, that the relationships are not permanent essentially. The contracts of our life are not permanent. We learn the lesson of that in some ways through this cycle. And it will come through detachment, either from the partner or us feeling that detachment, or it will come through partnerships coming in more spiritual forms. And unfortunately, in some cases, it could come through, if the karma is done, in form of a separation of somebody that we used to feel is forever. There's a contract in our life, and the whole concept that all the contracts in our life are permanent, that thought process, that lesson is shifted here. And there's a release of burden of relationships. They're more driven by lighter interaction, and even if you do something for somebody, it's more for selfless love out of your heart versus being a source of dependency in some ways. Relationships are also more spiritual, where if you do things, you do out of selfless love and know the returns wouldn't be right now. And the returns will not corroborate to the inputs you will be given. But relationships are not the focus right now. The focus is on you. It's the once in 19 years in making of you. Prioritize yourself, your looks, how you come across. If your cup overflows, others can benefit from it, and that's great without you expecting anything from them. But release the expectations from relationships, and this balance needs to be very much stricken again between you and the others. There's a leap in personal power, ambition for power, drive. Personal talents are going to come into overdrive here. And it would cause commotion in your personal life and your relationships, because you're going to be wanting to be your person. And the relationships and the partnership would have to change to be in line with who you're becoming and not who you were before this transit happened. Because you are going to be a different person post this very important, life-changing life transit. We're going to talk briefly about Neptune, because Neptune is going retrograde end of this month, and Neptune is making an aspect with both your solar eclipse as well as in the same location. Jupiter made an aspect with the lunar eclipse as well. Neptune is adding to confusion in some ways. It's adding an element of whimsy and confusion, possible internal conflict. The source of that conflict is confusion over your career goals. Neptune has been in your house of career since 2011. But now that it's interacting with your eclipses, that confusion over where do I want to be, like where do I want to go, what is my career goal, what title you would like to be known for, what is your leadership style, all of those questions are coming to forefront. Since 2011, when Neptune came in your house of career, every year it chips away what is not real and authentic about your life path. But in that process, it creates a lot of confusion. And there might have been a lot of confusion since 2011. Who do I want to become? Because the solid world of what we thought, as soon as we decide this is who I am, suddenly the solid world of what we thought was real, it shifts. It changes shape. What comes out, though, is a more expansive image of what's possible for us. But this whole process of evolution, of dissolution, can feel very disorienting and even frightening. And you have lived through all of it. The intention is to psychologically dislodge previous attitudes about life path, your perception about what your title should be, what your career should be, and who should be the leader of your life and your work. What is your role as a leader, both in your life and in your work? Unknowingly, slowly, we are disconnecting from an ego identity that one attaches to one's work, and the external identity to reach a higher form of ourselves is slowly being disclosed, which means that you're becoming a higher form of yourself in this process of dissolution. Because in some ways you become ego detached from that identity when the ground is shifting so much. It does happen though through disillusionment. We're slowly shown some reality or some of the things that we did not see before. Like maybe some of the goals were not real, some of the people you thought are helping you in your career are not real, or the career you had thought in that form should be is not real. And when Neptune will turn retrograde towards the end of the month, you will find that you will see some of the realities in daylight which you were not seeing before. Regarding your career path, regarding your life choices in terms of your career path, regarding the authorities, regarding the authority both in your personal and in your professional life. And with that, over the course of next 6 months, you'll be able to filter out what's real and what's not, and decide on future course. It's like a defogging which is happening towards the end of the month, and it's just starting. Neptune in our career house makes us very open, very idealistic, very impressionable, and it has a place in the world because it gives that person the mandate to bring more beauty, more whimsy, magic, love, style, glamour, cinematic wonders, music, ethereal talents to life for the world. So there is a reason why you are being lifted up in the cloud and being made to show an idealistic, open picture of what is possible for you. Because you are meant to surpass the old career tags in some ways. The life path you would have is not the one that anybody else has followed. And also, this adds an element of charm to who you are. It softens who you are as a leader. It opens your heart to other people. It creates a whimsy around the already charming Gemini, and these leads to leaders who are idealized by others, who evoke philosophy of others. Karl Marx, JFK, they were born with this position of Neptune, which you are currently experiencing since 2011 as a transit. But to become that kind of a leader, we have to give up our personal identity to become that. Over years, slowly but steadily, that process progresses, and that process is integral part of these eclipses. Not just that, Jupiter has now joined Neptune in your house of career after 13 years. It's an amazing transit to have. When Jupiter comes in a house of career, the very window from which we look at our career expands, the opportunities and the avenues expand. It will fully come in your house of career only in 2022. I have detailed that separately in the 2022 preview video, which I'll link in the comments and in the details. But these two planets are going to work together in your critical house of career and home next year. They're going to shift both significantly in 2022. But look out for this month. What happens this month is that Jupiter and Neptune, they're both active. You're going to receive some expansionary opportunity. Apart from realizing what is fake, what is not, you would experience around 23rd of June when Jupiter comes into action, you might receive some expansionary opportunity to understand the purpose of all of this flux. Why were things not getting set in stone? Why so much confusion? It's not yet also in final form, far from it, but it is a very important step in information and support which you're going to receive, and a knowledge of what path to follow that you're going to receive around 23rd of June in my view. And that's what this next 6 months are all about, taking a very important first step in your life path. Neptune is asking us to release some fake authorities and structures of careers or titles we have been holding on to. Even though we might have physically released them, the idea of success might still be staying the same. And it will be coming in the way of your true self-expression of self. We somewhere are giving authorities or old structures of career and even old structures of relationships permission to inhibit our fuller expression of life. What you love might be at odds with what your job, your father, your boss, your spouse expects of you. And that conflict is coming to forefront. Security labels are in conflict with who you are. There's a lot of drive to achieve success in your last eclipse, but there is a personal issue which needs to be handled before we get there. And that personal issue is a key theme as well of the next 6 months. There is a misstep, which is the elephant in the room, which needs to be addressed. You want to gain acceptance for your uniqueness, but you still want to possibly hold on to old security labels life has put on you. There's a clear conflict. Who do you want to be is a much deeper question, whose answer is going to help you resolve this conflict. Just that right now, it has a much longer term influence on your life. No pressure. Neptune is also highlighting an issue in dealing with adversaries. Sometimes what happens is that we don't let our self-expression of what we think we need to be get dampened by relationships, not just personal relationships, sometimes adversaries and critics or business partners. And you might have already experienced some of those conflicts with adversaries, with critics or with partners towards end of May itself with the lunar eclipse. And that conflict will continue to evolve. To be successful in your external life or in your career, it seems we must own our identity and learn a different tact to manage the adversary or critics or partner who seem to dampen our enthusiasm to own our identity. Sometimes it's the softer strokes that work. Sometimes the relationship needs to be released. Sometimes the confrontation is not the answer and a discussion resolves it. But it is important to handle this issue head on, which we normally avoid possibly. How you handle this battle can be a measure of gains in your professional life. If you have been avoiding this conflict, it would have come up or will come up, and it's a key hurdle to be crossed, which in turn shifts the imbalance, if any, in your relationships of give and take. It shifts the nature of the relationship, or the partnership itself changes. This all might seem like a giant distraction on the way to all I have described so far about your new life, new path. But the thing is that the new life would very soon become the old life if the patterns that are running us, the patterns that are driving us are not changed. And an important interpersonal pattern would come up for shift and change, and without resolving that, we are back to square one. This is the play of the next 6 months for us. And the thing is, this is going to play in parallel with Saturn square Uranus. which is also becoming exact on 14th of June. I'm not going to go into it here, but it's raising very similar themes. The themes are not different from what I have just described. You're being asked to look beyond your past, your fears, redefine your principles, life philosophy, and with Saturn in your house of publication and education, you might be physically be asked to set up some structure of a knowledge center, of an educational portal. I covered all of these themes in detail in your 2021 video because it's the theme of your whole year. What are you creating on this life path? It's something educational, something full of knowledge, a portal, a knowledge center. Now the rules around it, the structure around it is what you're reworking possibly right now. And Saturn square Uranus is going to be making this wanting to handle your fears actively and wanting to do something completely different from what you have done before come in conflict. It will unfold in parallel to these eclipses. I'll link that video of 2021 in the comments as well and in description for you to look at. Have this opportunity for you. This is the opportunity for you. This is a window for you. This is a window of once in 19 years for you. It is not going to be 100% what you thought it should be, because the thing is, it's not in its final form. It is still evolving and it will continue to evolve. And then Jupiter is going to come in your career next year fully, and it's going to expand what you're creating right now further on. So like quintessential Gemini, this opportunity never stops evolving, but put yourself first, put the foot in the direction to make yourself independent and be your person and do what you think your self-expression would be set free from. And that is the quintessential Gemini way forward to road to success right now. Good luck for that, and I'll see you in the next video now. Thank you.